We have started to record the most recent session of MM2003, Reporting and Writing for the Mass Media for the fall semester. It is Thursday, November 4th, 2021. After today, we have 5 class periods until Thanksgiving break. After we return, we have 2 more class periods. Realistically, as I've said on many occasions, we should be around assignment 18 or assignment 19 by Thanksgiving break. And then when you return, it will be the classmate blog critique, the wild card, then looking at the final project, which is visual journalism. You'll also recall that on Tuesday of this week, I wanted to reiterate the point that when you go to Blackboard and check all of the scores, intentionally, nothing is there. Why? Because the blog in and of itself, those 20 assignments, number 15, we're going to be looking at later on for research, entertainment, or popular culture, which is due on Tuesday of next week. And then today, assignment 14, what is currently trending in social media. All of these assignments from number 1 through number 20, the wild card, they're being graded as an entity unto itself. The 200 out of 300 points required in this course, with the visual journalism final being 50 points, one in a variety of categories. You can go back and look what I talked about in class on Tuesday, specific items that you may want to look at on your short list, and then 50 points for watching the videos. I can go into the grade center on Blackboard and check to see who is doing what. Timeliness is key. A number of websites are going to be looked at today. And one of the things that is really important to understand is that mass media is a time-sensitive field. We can't be in a position where we're always backing and filling with projects. So one of the things that I'm looking at with those 200 points in the blog from assignment 1 through 20 is timeliness. If I'm waiting for projects, that's not going to help your grade. 1, it's not what I want you to do in this class. And 2, it's unfair to the people who go back and research and write and research and write and continually edit their blogs for creativity, factual accuracy, repertorial content, and the overall quality of news as related to what's going on right now, whether it be hard or feature news, as we looked at earlier this week with international hard or feature news. Coming up today, as I mentioned a moment ago, with trending in social media, or what might be coming up next week for assignment 15, entertainment or popular culture. Let's start off today by going to Google Drive and reminding you about upcoming projects, due dates, and what I'm going to be looking at later on. Coming up next week, assignment 15 will be due on Tuesday. Some of you are already one step ahead of the game, and that's fine. But Thursday of next week, we get into a couple of assignments where you can take off your impartial hat and discuss something of interest either at the local level, opinion, assignment 16, or opinion at the state, national, or international levels for assignment 17. And all of a sudden, we get into those final 3 projects. And I would strongly encourage you, whenever you get through all 20, to go back and double check the consistency of everything that you have done, whether it be paragraph structure, the quality of the lead sentences, making sure that you've got a crisp, concise writing style. And then, as you well know, it's really important to examine not only your classmates from fall 2021, but what were other people doing in 2020 or 2019 or 2018, 2017, 2016, or 2015. Virtually all of these websites are still available. What I really appreciate is the creativity that all of you bring not only to the blogs, but to what you might want to discuss for that final project on visual journalism. And I also believe it's important to always be consistent in trying to have excellent content and excellent visuals. This was a tweet that I sent out over the weekend. Think of all of the projects that you're doing for me in mass media and mass communication courses. I view the 3 items at the top of the updated checklist or grade sheet as separate entities: media presentations, position paper websites, and blogs. The news writing class that you're in right now, Media Law and Ethics, that is offered in spring 2022. Directed study, both 1 and 2, where you create blogs. Directed study 1 is mass media criticism. Directed study 2, which I'm teaching in spring 2022, is called video, present, and future. Media presentations, position paper websites, and blogs are something that are really important for you to understand, appreciate, research, write, and edit over and over again. And with that in mind, once all of us are beyond the pandemic and we can be more formalized with a grading procedure, but right now this is an informal checklist. When you're looking in this particular class at your blog, at this point from assignment 1 to 14, some of you are at 15, is your content in these 9 categories and your visuals in these 9 categories consistent with the terms that I have on the far left? When you're looking at the structure of your news writing blog, is it seamless? Are your headlines clickable? Your reporting extensive, writing descriptive, language concise, copy editing accurate, fairness inclusive, media research thorough, and analytical perspective thoughtful. Now keep in mind, guys, that when I'm looking at media presentations, position paper websites, and blogs, not all of these categories will neatly fit into all of the ideas that you're putting together for the classes, but most of them do. And that's why it's important to always have these in the back of your minds when you're putting together the blogs. And as far as the visuals, in this case, of your news writing blogs, is your design consistency uniform? Your font size, color, and shading readable? Your text to image balance comparable? Ideally, you're not going to provide all text or all graphics, but a nice blending of the two for an immersive, interactive news experience. And does it look good on both your phone and on your computer? Interactivity, recurrent. So for instance, for these projects, your interactivity would be providing not only a link to the story, but possibly links within the stories if appropriate. It all depends upon what you're doing that particular class period. Is your navigation optimized? Now, most of the time on Google Blogger, that's going to be taken for granted, but not always. Is your uniqueness dynamic? When I click on that website, whenever I click on that link, for all of those different project courses that I showed you from 2021 all the way back to 2015, is that uniqueness, when I click on your name and I scroll through your website, is it dynamic? Is your social engagement shareable? Most of the time it will be. Is your mobile compatibility friendly? Again, think about font sizes, think about graphics, think about interactivity, tweets, videos. Are they going to look good? Especially think about that from your phones. And is your aesthetic appeal creative? Not just something that is boilerplate or boring. And the more time you put into it, it will be very obvious. If you're throwing stuff together at the last minute, it will be very clear. And speaking about navigation as optimized, I'm showing you this on Google Drive, but you can go to my website and look at this as well. This is what I mean by optimal navigation. from the updated media form grade sheet slash checklist. From the fall semester of 2017, representative examples of a number of students in this course, what their blogs look like for the news writing course on their cell phones. 5 on top, 4 on the bottom. And that really is something that I think can help you out, because on some of these, I can see the names very clearly. And virtually all of them at this point, as of 2021, have graduated, starting with video A down to video P, and today will be video Q, and it will be actually in this location. Always go back to check not only what I think about classmates' blogs, but have I talked about yours recently? If I haven't, more than likely you're getting behind, and that's something that is going to be taken into consideration for the grades. So with that in mind, especially from now until the end of the semester, one of the things that I will be doing more and more is to showcase your work on my Twitter feed. And that's what I did before class on Tuesday. Here is my Twitter feed, and it includes everything for the hashtag of MM2003 that we've done during the semester. But especially now that we've gone through the baker's dozen as of 48 hours ago. Assignment 13, International Hard or Feature News, and I provide a link to Taylor's project. And there is the link to her blog. However, this is everything that we've done so far in the fall of 2021. Occasionally, the obligatory advertisement. But especially with this being an online course, I've tried to be as user-friendly as possible in letting you know that videos, of course, are available. I download them after this class whenever it is formatted on Ultra, and will download them to my website. And as you can see, a number of the things I have done is just showcase for all of you the works that have been downloaded to my website. As we continue on, and there is something of me from September 9. It shows you the semester goes by very, very fast. Assignment 2, there is an example of Abby from the fall semester of 2020. And we'll be doing that later on today with examples of Assignment 15, which is entertainment or popular culture, going back for the past few years. So this is everything that we have done during the term. A lot of it is just with an online course where you can find different types of materials. And this was the first thing I sent out during the semester, which was a link to the course before we moved over to Ultra, and then back to the top. As you saw with Taylor, more and more I'm going to be showcasing your work, and I'll be doing it for one of the Assignment 14 projects today. It is so helpful to check your classmates' creativity, your classmates' reporting, research, and writing. And most importantly, how is that going to translate into your particular individual style? So with all of that, now let's take a look at most of the blogs from this class. I've got a number of you who are already at either Assignment 14 or 15, Whaley, Singletary, Roland, Rich, Hines, and Gunnels. And here are some of the other websites I'm going to be looking at today in no particular order. We've got Harrell, Rinke, Blair, Smith, Robertson, Miner, McDaniel, Hunt, and Briggs. As of today, we should be moving quite along into Assignment 14, with Assignment 15 being due on Tuesday of next week. As I mentioned at the outset, timeliness is essential. If I'm still waiting for projects, or you're still not in double digits yet, that is going to affect your grade at the end of the semester. Let's move on to, in reverse alphabetical order, let's start off with the website from Carlin and what she did for trending on social media. You can see she is already at Assignment 15, which is a promo here for Squid Game. we will go down to see what she's got on social media. We noticed a little bit of that the other day because we were looking at her graphic for Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. And here's what she's got. Quote, the Day of the Dead, Dia de Muertos, is celebrated from October 31st until November 2nd. This holiday is celebrated by European and Latin American countries. The Day of the Dead is when you gather together and celebrate the souls of lost loved ones. They believe that on this day, their deceased family members return to spend time with them. And here you have what appears to be, it's opening in a different window. It is a link to a CNN story on Day of the Dead. Dia de los Muertos, also known as Day of the Dead, extends over the first 2 days of November and has nothing to do with Halloween. Now, why is that important? Because a lot of us who aren't aware of Dia de los Muertos would think it does have something to do with Halloween just because of the way many folks are dressed. Here is another tweet that has been included by Carlin. Happy Day of the Dead 2021. And that was from Google. And that is also opening in a different window, talking about Mexico's indigenous communities. I'm quoting from the link. Here we've got the East Baton Rouge Parish School System. Yesterday and today are known as the Day of the Dead, celebrated with prayer and remembrance of friends and family members who have died. And there is the link, which again opens in a different window, and that's from a school district. Here we have one from Denver, how to celebrate the Day of the Dead. This is not a Latin Halloween. And here you have, we are learning about Day of the Dead, a beautiful celebration honoring family and friends. And there you've got the Mexican flag. How ancient traditions grew into a global holiday. Notice what she is doing here. She doesn't necessarily, when we scroll from bottom to top in a few moments, she's not necessarily putting in a lot of copy, but we're still learning from her interactive style. Today is the Day of the Dead, and this is my art inspired by it. And does this open in this window? It is. And it doesn't appear to be there's any audio. That's the great part about social media and something that's relevant with producing blogs for this course, is that you have the opportunity to tell the story in a different way. Again, there's the tweet. Here is the link, and we'll play it one more time. There is no audio. Very creative. Then it stops. And here's another tweet. Today is Day of the Dead. Quote, Dia de los Muertos teaches us to turn the pain, the grieving into love and appreciation for the time we had with those people in our lives, in our community. Paying tribute to those lost by COVID-19. We've done this before, but let's count the number of tweets. As you well know, I could showcase this on social media. Let's count the number of tweets that were included by Carlin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, very colorful, 6, 7, 8. Now, what's the word count? The Day of the Dead, Dia de Muertos, is celebrated from October 31st until November 2nd. Now, I know I read this once before, but it bears repeating. This holiday is celebrated by European and Latin American countries. The Day of the Dead is when you gather together and celebrate the souls of lost loved ones. They believe that on this day, their deceased family members return to spend time with them. So, from top to bottom, you had all of those tweets. You've got the generic graphic on top, and her word count is just that four-line paragraph. That's it. But does it tell the story of what's currently trending on social media? Absolutely, because if it's trending on social media, there are going to be a lot of postings. and that's what she included. And that certainly, in this case, would be acceptable. Then we come back to the top, click on her name, and that's what we will examine on Tuesday of next week. I would say for those of you who are already at assignment 15, you can relax for the time being, because I don't want you to get too far into opinion pieces before I talk about them in class on Tuesday of next week. So in roughly reverse alphabetical order, the next website that I want to show you that is at assignment 14 or 15, even though we'll be looking at 14, the next person you're going to see is Lauren. And this is what she has. Like Carlin, she's already at assignment 15. Unlike Carlin, who did Squid Game, we are promoting in advance, just a little teaser, she's doing the adaptation of Dune. Here is her social media story, and it deals with Harry Styles. Harry Styles breaks the internet yet again. Quote, October 30th, 2021 marked a day in history that teenage girls across the country will remember for years to come. At Madison Square Garden, Harryween Night commenced. Fans' costume bets were on Rocky Horror Picture Show or Alice in Wonderland, considering the redundant use of bunnies in Mr. Styles' merch. In an online course, Lauren, I will let you say merch. If this were a traditional newspaper, I'd probably say merchandise, but in this case, I'll let you get away with it. Fans were pleasantly surprised when Harry skipped out onto the stage dressed head to toe in a Wizard of Oz Dorothy costume. As always with Harry Styles, understated is the word. So here we will scroll down, and I'm looking at these for the first time with all of you. Again, similar to Carlin, she is featuring different types of social media tweets. So this is from the official Harry Styles Twitter page. And like Carlin, this opens in a different window. I can tell you, I'm not going to put it on the screen, but he has 37 million followers on Twitter. That is the photo. Now she's putting a narrative in between the tweets. The artist proceeded to cover the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Next paragraph lead sentence, Madison Square Garden was filled with energy and excitement, as well as complaints from the wrestling match taking place downstairs and fear that the door was going to cave in. Let's check. So the quote on the tweet is, I will never shut up about Harry performing Kiwi while wearing a Dorothy costume. This is forever embedded in my brain. And I think for those of us who have never seen Harry Styles perform, that is an accurate statement. We're about 50 seconds plus into the 2 minutes, but let's go ahead and catch a little bit more audio. Of course, keep in mind, guys, that in a social media era, it is impossible to have people go to a concert and not record. It used to be a time where there were all different kinds of rules and restrictions. You couldn't bring in any cameras or audio recordings. But in the social media era, it's just impossible to police this because everyone's got a camera on their phone. Last 15 seconds. So those were Dorothy's Magic Slippers, and that is the end of that video clip. The fun didn't stop there. There was a Harry Ween fancy dress party. He presented himself on stage, Harry, dressed as every single fan who guessed his costume wrong, a clown. And there you have Harry Ween. You know you've hit it big in show business when you decide to name something that's been going on for many years in the United States after yourself. Fans were over the moon for the costume. Of course, over the moon is a British phrase, not only because a single person guessed it. Some insist the costume is an Easter egg for his future album. And here is the tweet. Who even cares? Quote, that Harry Styles didn't release a new album today when last night he sang Medicine for the first time in 3 years and immediately jumped right into Toxic. And what the heck, let's play part of this too. Now, why is including something like this important in my class for a news writing blog? Because it adds life to the story. We saw Carlin only had one short paragraph, and it included a lot of social media feeds on social media. Same thing with Harry Styles. He's trending on social media, and we're learning more about his music by these two different video clips. Last 10 seconds. So here we finish up with, quote, lead sentence, the artist finished the night by being awarded the Madison Square Garden Gold Ticket Award. Harry's final show, final sentence of this tour, will be November 28 in Long Island, New York. We include here 1, 2, 3, 4 different tweets with a graphic, and among those 4 tweets were 2 video clips. Works for trending on social media in both cases. So that's what Lauren's website looks like, and that will bring us now to the website for Alexis, and we'll put hers up on the screen. And let me refresh this before we put it up. She is on assignment 14, trending in social media. And from this point, we will go ahead. And as I said before, some of the, whatever is highlighted on top. So for instance, in the case of Alexis, the visual journalism project at the end of the semester will be the first thing that we see up here. So she or any of you who have a format similar to this will want to make sure that your graphic is large enough when you download it so it doesn't pixelate. Here it's no big deal because, as I said the other day with Happy Birthday, whenever they go into this particular format, the smaller graphics are going to be very, very clear all the way down. And then we've got more post with number 1. Most of the time, these graphics are going to be very, very crisp. So with that in mind, and I'll talk about that later, we will go to her trending on social media, and apparently this includes The Rock. Like all of you, I'm looking at this for the first time. So Alexis, what do we have here?
Hi. So my presentation, I don't know why I said presentation, but my thing that I posted about Dwayne Johnson, and he made a promise on an interview to not use real firearms when producing projects. This had to do with the problem that they have with rust. The cinematographer, Helena Hutchins, passed away due to misuse of a firearm. It happened on the set of Rust, and there's still a lot going on. We don't know completely what happened, but what we do know is the gun was in the hands of Alec Baldwin, and it went off and it killed him.
And by the way, this is the link provided at the top with your tweet. Let's catch a little bit of audio. Is this The Rock actually talking about not using guns on the set?
Yes, sir.
Let's pick up a little bit of this.
Set, and how can we ensure that things are always safe in the industry?
Yeah, Liz, that's a great question. And first of all, I was heartbroken when I read that. And it was the kind of story you read and you're like, wait, am I reading this shit right? Did this really happen? And you want to confirm it. I start to text people who I know, who know people, because it's a small industry we're in. And they confirmed that, yeah, that happened. And, you know, we lost a life. So my heart goes out to her family and everybody on set. I've known Alec too as well for a very long time. I can't speak for other production companies or other studios. I can tell you though, what we should do in a scenario like this is learn from it. And as we move forward, I think that there are new protocols and new measures, safety measures that we should take, especially in the wake of what just happened. So again, I can't speak for anyone else, but I can tell you without an absence of clarity here, that any movie that we have moving forward with Seven Bucks Productions, any movie, any television show, or anything we do or produce, we won't use real guns at all. We're going to.
And keep in mind, the technology has gotten to the point where if you want to use special effects, that certainly is going to be accurate. Now, there might be cases where you can't use them, but just from the standpoint of safety, remember that she did not expect, obviously, to die. Now, this was the first graphic. That is his production company, right? That is The Rock's production company.
Yes, that's the Rock's production company.
And this is the young lady who is the director of photography for Rust, who was unfortunately shot and killed. And I believe someone else was wounded in Arizona. And there is a graphic of the movie set. And there you have The Rock. And before we move on, where are you at today? I'm hearing some noise in the background.
I'm at the Bussy lobby. There's people walking
Oh, okay.
by.
And there's nothing wrong with being in the Bussy lobby. It's just that I heard some ambient sound in the background, but that's fine. Okay, so from this point on, let's go ahead and tell us what you think is relevant to discuss here.
I pretty much the most relevant information is already in here, but I also included a link to the actual story about what happened on the set of Rust at the bottom, because I mainly just talked about Dwayne's about The Rock's interview, and I wanted there to be more information about the actual what happened on Rust. I feel like I didn't include a lot about that just because I wanted to cover what was trending, which was his interview.
Right.
But yeah.
But it matters because he's someone who has made the transition from being a successful professional wrestler to being a worldwide movie star. And what happens in those cases is that if he says on his movie sets it's not going to happen, then it could potentially be a trend in that case that would also transition into other movie sets as well. But this is the entire story. And eventually, and there is the young lady again who unfortunately passed away, and the director was injured. I believe, I don't know if the bullet grazed him or not or what the circumstances were, but it just goes on and on. And this is a well-researched story. Now, there's the end of it. And when you scroll back up, there is a tweet. But especially in this case, notice whenever I say writing interactively, here is a link. Here is a link. So within this story, not only are there photos, not only is there quality reporting and writing, but at the New York Times, when you see anything that is underlined in blue, it means that there's a lot of interactivity. Now, that is something within the context of the story itself, and there's video, but it shows you how a professional news site puts together its data. Not only is it well researched and reported, but like you said, you're primarily looking at the situation with Alec Baldwin, or you're primarily looking at how The Rock is viewing this, but you want to know a little bit about what happened on the set. And there is Alec Baldwin distraught after the circumstances because he's been on movie sets for decades and something like this had not happened before. Now, as we transition back into the story, there is your link to the interview with The Rock, the New York Times story, and I'll just leave it there. What else would you like to say in conclusion?
I really like how The Rock mentioned that he was sad about how this is the reason why we're going to fix using firearms on sets. Um, this type of situation really makes you like step back, especially if you're in, I would assume if you're in like movie productions or any type of film industry, um, just using like fake, because sometimes they don't use fake weapons. And this really made him step back and make the promise that his company wouldn't be using real weapons while producing anything.
And we should indicate, Alexis, from the standpoint of context, that there had been different issues taking place on the set of this movie. I did not know until after the fact. I did not know what an armorer, Armorer, I did not know what an armorer was. But it turns out that that's one of the people involved in the chain of command, and supposedly these guns are supposed to be picked up, they're supposed to be locked away, and the armorer or someone is supposed to make certain that all of these bullets are blank. But realistically, in the future, more and more movie sets are going to be in a circumstance where The Rock or anyone else can just hold up their hand, and that can be done by special effects. So that is your story related to it with a lot of links. Anything else you'd like to say, Alexis?
I actually didn't know what an armor was either until I researched this. And I actually heard about it after it happened. And I didn't know what assignment I wanted to put it on, but I definitely wanted to talk about it. And then I also didn't know about the different steps that they had to go through. And on this specific day, there were already walkouts. There was a lot that was happening.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
that's why I wanted to add the extra New York Times story because, like, Dwayne Johnson, of course, isn't going to mention everything, but I felt that this was a topic that I really needed to add more links to.
It's what we've been looking at so far with all of you guys, Alexis. The context of the story itself is still ongoing. There was a story that I read yesterday online indicating that could this potentially have been a setup, or could there have been sabotage on the set? Now, all of this is speculation. Nobody knows, but that's why we have to have a deliberative process in reporting the story, because it's always going to be ongoing. So just for the record, let's scroll down one more time. You've got one, two, three short paragraphs, but you also have down here a number of different links, and all of these visuals and the links are going to bring context to the story, particularly going to his Twitter account and looking at the video right on top with the Variety interview. That really does help. Okay, Alexis, are we good?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You can go ahead and mute your mic, and that will bring us to the website for Taylor. I'm skipping over some of you who are still catching up to the current assignment, but we'll go to Taylor's website next. And for any of you who go into Walmart or who know the Pioneer Woman, you will see a familiar face, a little showcase for next week. And I've got Google Chrome not responding. This is the first time it's happened with Ultra. As you well know, I've got a lot of windows open, and most of the time I'm not going to have any issues. But on occasion, on my computer right now, I'm getting the rotating circle. And usually what the rotating circle means is that I have to get out and come back in. So let me try to click on this one more time, and nothing is happening. So I'm going to click out and come back in. I've become an old hand at this type of thing because on occasion, Blackboard, and you should be able to hear me now, and I will double check to make sure that the ring light is on and that everyone can see me on the video. And the next thing I will do is to share the video. So Alexis, I'll ask you to come back in for a moment. Can you see and hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you very much. Now we'll go to Taylor's website. Whenever this first started to happen during the pandemic, first when we had classes online, it would freak me out a little bit, but now it's old hat. If it only happens once or twice a semester, that's fine. This is the familiar face I was telling you about. This is the Pioneer Woman, which we will examine from Taylor's website on Tuesday of next week. This is Ree Drummond. Anyone who is in the news writing class this semester also knows that was done as a media presentation by someone else in public relations over the past couple of weeks. So let's go ahead and click on her trending on social media story. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. And for the past couple of years, the one thing you notice is at this time of year, people start to put up all different kinds of decorations. I think it used to be, when I was a kid, usually people started putting up Christmas gear after Thanksgiving, or now what everyone calls for shopping purposes Black Friday. But you'll see Christmas displays up already. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. And you've got people who are defrosting and preparing to capitalize on the season. So this is Mariah Carey. And I think everyone celebrates the Christmas holiday by Smashing Pumpkins, not to be confused with the musical group, the Smashing Pumpkins. So let's watch that one more time with feeling. And as we continue to scroll through, what else was trending? We've got a Christmas countdown. Maybe you have to be a kid to really appreciate that. I look at it and think, wow, that is really annoying. But maybe that's just me. Let's move on. This is my Christmas decorating so far. Stay tuned for more. Now, of course, you would never have any misspellings on your news blogs. So we can say this one more time with feeling. This is my Christmas decorating so far. Stay tuned for more. So apparently there is no spell check on his Twitter feed. And that is certainly, if nothing else, that's opening in a different window, so it doesn't matter. It's November 1st, and they're already playing Christmas music in stores. I'm going to scream. Usually on television, most of you guys who are majors know this. I've talked about this. You'll usually get those advertisements starting before Halloween. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I couldn't think about the names of the jewelry stores where you go to Jared or you go to Zale, all of those jewelry stores. So he went to Jared, or Every Christmas Begins with K. So those are some of the items that are presented by Taylor. Now keep in mind, she doesn't have a lot of copy here. It reminds me to a certain degree as to what Carlin had, but that's okay because the trending social media posts are in actuality the story. You're setting it up with a link of what other individuals are doing. So if they're, quote, defrosting, that's fine. Again, that is our showcase for the Pioneer Woman from her website, coming up on Tuesday of next week. The next blog that we're going to be looking at today is from Haley, and I want to make sure that I've got hers up here. I'm skipping alphabetical order. Make sure that I've got hers up, and here we go. Her entertainment or pop culture is going to be on Adele. In this case, we'll be examining number 14. This is YouTube, and in her case, we've got 1, 2, 3 different graphics. And she's doing this more as a story, which is certainly acceptable. I give you the flexibility to basically set these up as you wish, as long as they're well reported and written. And when I say well reported, I call the reporting and research part of the inclusion of screenshots of tweets or social media posts. If you decided to put in YouTube or Instagram, that would be acceptable, because to me, that's part of the reporting process. Social media has grown to become a powerhouse tool that many did not expect it to be, a platform that has been that start for many influencers and social media stars would be YouTube. We wouldn't know of Jake Paul if it were not for YouTube. And the fact that he's been able to make money off of these pay-per-view events is either testament to his creativity or to the lack of imagination for people who want to see folks who may not necessarily be all that qualified get into the ring and hit each other. Jake Paul started his career on the platform by making and releasing videos of challenges and skits. He had a hype house, including influencers, and he's been venturing out into the world of boxing. And that leads eventually into a tweet from MMA Fighting. Their collision course will come to an end on December 18th. And a lot of people would look at this and think, who cares? But there's a market for it. And even if they may not necessarily be all that talented, so much of this may be posturing, it may be trash talking. As long as it brings a pay-per-view audience, and as long as people keep going and paying the freight, then something like this will keep on being produced. And there is a link to MMAfighting.com. And here you have something from Bleacher Report and a tweet. Another tweet, it's official. They'll be fighting in Tampa. MMA Fighting, another tweet. So in the case of Haley, she's included 1, 2, 3, 4 tweets and 3 different graphics. But if there's money to be made and you have someone who really is an influencer, it makes perfect sense to try to monetize your brand by going into those fights. And that is what Haley has for assignment 14 trending on social media. Most of you have really improved the look of your websites during the semester. Hers has really not changed all that much, but I do really appreciate the stylistic approaches that all of you are taking. And many of you, and Kaylee Harrell is one of these, have been working on them throughout the semester. So continue to experiment. There is someone who graduated in 2018, Anna Kirksey, who experimented with her website for this class all the time. And experimentation is actually a good thing. The final website that we're going to be looking at today, which discusses trending on social media, is Gwen Gunnell's. And I'll get hers ready. Skipping over a couple from Haley and put hers up. Here we have assignment 14, and this is hashtag Justice for Claire. And as of her post yesterday, it was trending on social media. Let's examine her graphics. Like Haley, we can make them full screen. Justice for Claire, trending on Twitter. On November 3rd, concerned Twitter users started the hashtag after screenshots were released by a 16-year-old girl explaining that she was sexually assaulted at a Harry Styles concert at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta on October 28. The young lady went to the concert alone and tried to notify security that a man was making her uncomfortable. And then you have part of the paragraph that discusses the assault. She then typed out a detailed statement explaining what happened and sent it to the venue via Instagram. The arena replied by saying, "Well, did you tell the police?" And the tweet contains details of sexual assault. Now, notice what she did there. And that's a smart strategy. But if you're a reporter, it's your responsibility to include the information. Even if it is graphic, it is something that if you can justify the source material, then it really is your responsibility to include it. But there is the tweet, and there is information from within its opening, as we've had with other tweets, in a separate window. And if you want to, you can go to that and check it out yourself. I cannot even begin to imagine going to a concert and having something like this happen. Heartbroken, sad, and terrified. Hashtag under justice for Claire. Twitter users are demanding that State Farm Arena take responsibility for their security actions or possibly lapses and their failure to take care of the situation. When will women ever be heard and respected? Hashtag justice for Claire at the very least. Take responsibility. Do better. I think responsibility is misspelled there. Justice for Claire. Neither State Farm Arena nor Harry Styles have yet to comment on the allegations. So in this story of the assault reported by the patron at the concert, we've got 1, 2, 3 different tweets with a caution for the details and a graphic. And that was trending on social media. And it's something that realistically is not going to go away. Here is what Gwen's website looks like, roughly 2/3 into the semester. I haven't been doing this with everyone's, but she's got a setup that is very similar to Haley's. And like Haley's, you have to click on older posts to get all the way to number 1, but that's okay. But continue, as I indicated at the outset. Look at these over an extended period of time to check whether or not it is consistent in terms of appearance on both your computer and on your phone. You want to make it as easily readable as possible. Now let's take a look at some of the other websites from your classmates that aren't at 14 or 15. And I'm going to be going in roughly alphabetical order, scrolling through these relatively quickly. This is what Joanna's website looks like. She is still at assignment 10, campus listening posts. Then we will move on. The next website we will look at is Courtney. And Courtney, I can tell you've been editing this because some of the paper shredder lines that we were looking at in previous iterations of your website are not there, but we'll show everyone yours. Courtney this is somewhat deceiving because she's got public records on top when actually I think she's at assignment 12. And she's got Northern Ireland, a creative example of an international public records story. And here is her definition of numeracy, and she provides a couple of graphics because, as you're well aware, numeracy is something where you really need to understand the context of numbers. And then she explains numeracy is important because it helps people develop logical thinking and reasoning strategies every day. The categories of the mathematical content or numeracy, or the content that helps us think critically, are number, operations, patterns, functions, algebra, measurement, and understanding assessment. Numeracy sounds a lot like math, but it is more than that, and that's true. I told you in class a couple of weeks ago that it's nice to me that all of you have now the option at SAU to take a course other than college algebra. And college algebra is a good course, but looking at mathematical literacy, I think something like that really helps all of us put the numbers into a more relatable context. And that's what Courtney is talking about with that particular project. Now let's scroll down beyond public records and see just a little bit more of her blog. International hard or feature news. She's got something from CNN, which includes 1, 2, 3 different graphics. And this is something that is a missile attack on a mosque and religious schools that killed and injured almost 30 people in the country of Yemen. And it's appropriate, as she does here, to include a map of Yemen because from the geographical standpoint, not everyone knows where the country is. This would be in the area that includes just above it, Saudi Arabia. And there we've got the BBC News link. And again, I'm not sure why that happens with the way that it looks like the old paper shredder. Trending on social media, the Atlanta Braves win the World Series with a graphic. And it's an irony that the team got hot late in the season because it won the World Series with only 88 victories. And there you've got local public records, and then you've got campus hard news. So that's something, Courtney, that you can continue to work on during the semester in campus crime was directly underneath, because by the end of the semester, I want to make sure that all of the lines that we see here are eliminated. Now, and here with the BBC News feed, you'll just want to experiment possibly with a different format to see whether or not the same thing comes up on the screen. But it is nice to see your writing improvement and creativity with putting different kinds of graphics into the news blog. As all of you know, this is going to be a constant editing process, which is why those 200 points will not be listed in the gradebook online via Blackboard until after we get through Thanksgiving and after all 20 assignments are complete. So let's go beyond Courtney. And the next one we'll look at is Seth. He is at assignment 13, International Hard or Feature News. His numeracy involves COVID and how the CDC has approved the Pfizer vaccine for children ages 5 to 11. I was watching some coverage on CNN this afternoon before starting this course, and you are seeing kids going to different kinds of clinics. You see stuffed animals. There was one that was very cute. There was a little boy getting a shot and a little girl, and they called it some type of a therapy clinic because when they were getting their shot, right next to them was a great big dog. Not a dog toy, but a real dog. And there is his link to the story from a television news feed. Looks like it's coming from an Arkansas affiliate on numeracy. And this is his international hard or feature story on trains colliding in Salisbury, England. And here's the graphic, one of two that's provided. In many countries of the world, including Great Britain, you'll have a lot of commuters on the train. In the United States, it's primarily based with East Coast traffic on subway systems. And that is his story related to international hard or feature news. And we'll do deep dives into all of your websites at some point before Thanksgiving. But the next website we're going to be looking at after Seth, this is Trey. And as I recall in Trey's case, he was having a little bit of a challenge with the Blackboard app, so he's still catching up. But right now he is at Hometown Hard News, and this is what his website looks like. It is very similar to what Mary Alice Cole did a few years ago. And the reason, Trey, that I mentioned Mary Alice is that you're actually going to see before the end of class what her blog style, which looks very similar to yours, was done. I believe it was either 2018 or 2017. So just everyone getting a little flavor of their website. Morgan is going to be next. And without scrolling through the website, that's what hers looks like right now. As a graphic design person, she is really utilizing that creativity at the top of the blog. And that leads us to Chris. And his website, as of class time, is still on the story from the Southern Arkansas University Foundation providing funds to the nursing department. And next is Kaylee. And let me show you, she's been experimenting a lot with different stylistic approaches. When you click on her name, this is what you see. She is currently at listing posts, and we've been experimenting. She has currently with the sidebar format. And with the sidebar, it is relatively easy to check all of the stories that have been worked on during the semester, including public records, including numeracy, and all of those we looked at. And if that looks familiar, as I told you with Trey, he follows a style very similar to Mary Alice Cole from a few years ago. I believe it was from 2018. And what we have in this case is on the left-hand side with the sidebar, very similar to something else you'll see before the end of class, Christy Glass from 2019. But again, you click on Kaylee's name, and right now she's looking at listing posts. So that's where she is, roughly about 2/3 of the way through the semester. Next, a website you haven't seen today is Jonathan. And as is the case with Chris, he is still on the same assignment as the last time I showed you his blog. This is Public Records Local, and it is Bowie County, Texas. And because he is from Hooks, something like that nearby makes perfect sense. And it's not all that far away from us. So that's what you see when you click on his name. And the last website we are going to be looking at from fall of 2021 is going to be Finley. And hers is also a work in progress. So right now, that's what her website looks like when you click on it, with civics being on top. But of course, with assignment 15 being due at class time on Tuesday, and because a few of you already have it done, you can just sit back and relax or go back into your blog and examine the quality of the writing, the paragraph structure, any interactivity that you provide. But I think most of you are really doing a nice job of expanding the original definition of the assignment. Because if I were to do this a couple of years ago as a student, I would probably work my narrative around some of the tweets or some of the Instagram posts where some of you now are having a short bit of copy and then putting in a lot of interactivity with video clips or different types of tweets or different kinds of links to stories. And all of that is acceptable for assignment 14, hashtag trending on social media. But what about entertainment or popular culture. What's going on in entertainment right now? And oftentimes the easiest way to do this is to just go online and search either under entertainment or popular culture. So as of class time, that's what I would see for an entertainment search. The entertainment search starts off with South Korea, and quoting now how South Korea, from a Financial Times story, plots its next entertainment blockbuster because it's had K-pop, Parasite, and Squid Game. I don't know if Financial Times, okay, except the cookies. For some of these websites that come up in the news link, I'm not always sure whether or not you have to go through a paywall. In some cases, all you have to do is to get maybe 2 of the stories, and now here the same thing is going to happen. Okay, do I have a Windows laptop? Okay, it does run Microsoft Windows. Don't make me, okay, I've had it for less than 1 year because it's a brand new. What is this? For goodness sake, I am unsure. Now I'm just guessing. I am unsure. I have to answer 17 questions apparently. And oh, for goodness sake, forget this. This is what drives you nuts, by the way, when you're doing something online. Ask a question, ask a question, ask a question. Is it worth it? No. So let's scroll down. There is a Korean graphic novel set to be adapted as a TV series. You've got something from Entertainment Weekly about King Richard. You've got Sabotage. Now, this is what I was talking about before with the story from Alexis. I'll dismiss the cookies, even though most of us would accept them. It is possible that someone purposely placed real bullets into the dummy gun that killed the director of cinematography, shown right here, a lawyer says. And that's what I was referring to, even though I had not seen the Al Jazeera story. And then we've got something from Disney Snow White. Now, I just did a generic entertainment search. So there could be literally anything here. And you don't necessarily have to do entertainment or pop culture, even though that's what I did. You might do movies, television, anything along those lines. For the best in local entertainment, Hutchinson Leader. Now, the only Hutchinson I know of is Hutchinson, Kansas. I got an A in geography in college. I think that becomes more apparent as we go through this. For the best in local entertainment, is this Kansas? Let's check, but we couldn't pass the kitty by. No, it looks like it is Hutchinson, California. Hutchinson Chamber of Commerce and Tourism. And these are local events. If you love cat videos and helping animals, there's good news. Cat Video Fest 21 is going on for 1 more week, and 10% goes to the Heart of Minnesota Animal Shelter. Now I'm really confused. We've got Hutchinson, we've got California. Where is this publication printed? This is... I originally said Hutchinson, Kansas, and now I'm seeing Newton, and there's a Newton, Kansas. Let's take a look at this. Or not. Customer service should help. Nothing like going down a rabbit hole in the beginning of class. So it is Hutchinson, Minnesota. Okay. Looks good. Hutchinson, Minnesota. Now from that, because there's so much different entertainment news, you can really go in any direction you want. But what about pop culture? And I have to be very careful here because I've got a window on the far side. This is what we have as of class time for news related to popular culture. And let me put this up on the screen. Near the end of class, I have to be really careful so I don't freeze up again. How Diana became a popular culture princess. We have a particular popular culture program which examines Japan's contributions to pop culture. And this is Williams College, which is on the East Coast. So anything related to the arts obviously would work. That appears to be a college newspaper. Here you've got Smart Talk First Friday, November Arts and Culture. And certainly cartoons are a part of popular culture. This is WITF. And I'm guessing this is public radio. Mechanicsburg, that should be Virginia. And there you can see Harrisburg, WITF. And this is the publication. So that is also on the East Coast. Appears to be in actually Pennsylvania. I'm going to stop guessing here. From the Korea Times, you have someone receiving the Korea Popular Culture and Art Awards highest order of merit. You've got also something from a website called Feminism in India. So you can do something for popular culture entertainment that may be internationally based. Popular Culture Narratives, Mood of the Month, November 2021. So again, this is from a website called Feminism in India. And you can see all different kinds of items there. How popular culture can address the climate crisis. And it goes on and on and on. Whether it be popular culture or entertainment, certainly a lot of areas from which you can choose. Now, there are a few of you, as you saw from the blogs earlier in class, that have already been completed. So you can just lay back, but don't do anything with opinion until I've talked about it in class on Tuesday. I do have 4 quick examples to show you from previous students of what they did for the popular culture assignment. This is fall 2020. This is Abby Johnson's website. And I already have it clicked to the assignment. Charlie Brown holiday specials only to be streamed on Apple TV this year. And then we go down. She's got a tweet from the Inquirer. It's The Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown won't air on ABC this year, moves to Apple TV. And then we've got another tweet. The Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, Thanksgiving, Christmas. You can see how, especially in the 1970s, the Peanuts gang became a part of American pop culture. Apple ends an American holiday tradition. Now that's from Instagram. And occasionally some of these social media feeds, the Instagram feed, open in a different window. And I'm guessing that what she has here from these other Twitter accounts would be the same way. And a friendly reminder, that's what Abby's website looks like when you click on it from 2020. Let's go back 2 years. You'll remember that I was telling you that Kaylee Harrell was experimenting with different formats on the far left-hand side. Now, depending upon what you are using stylistically, you can just immediately go through and see them all. And I've shown you those before using Kaylee's website as a barometer of that. But 2 years ago, Christy Glass is doing the same thing. This is what she did for entertainment or pop culture 2 years ago. She is looking at Kristen Bell and Jimmy Fallon singing a Disney compilation. Notice that she's got a link to BBC News Facebook page. to Jimmy Fallon's Facebook page, and there is an Instagram post of them singing the Christmas songs. And here they are singing. We'll play a little bit of this.
When you wish upon a star,
makes no difference who you are.
anything your heart desires will come true.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious.
So there, and that first song, I always think about Disneyland or Disney World. And of course, the second one comes from Mary Poppins. Including the video within the website itself is a creative touch. Here you've got a unicorn puppy with an extra tail on his head. And that's hard to believe. I think I talked about that a couple of years ago in Intro to MassCom. They were not going to take the tail because it was not affecting the puppy's life. They were not going to take that tail off. And here you've got Mac the Pit Bull website. And there you see the tail, which is growing out of the forehead. And apparently was not hurting the puppy, so they decided to leave it there. Infants in a Pittsburgh hospital dressed up like Mr. Rogers for World Kindness Day. So she's got literally a cornucopia of entertainment or pop culture stories. And then you've got World Kindness Day and Cardigan Days, where apparently the babies are dressed up like Mr. Rogers. And if I click on this, I don't know if with her format, yeah, they're all opening in different windows, but you get the idea. And similar to what you had, as I indicated a moment ago, from Kaylee, remember there's a Kaylee and a Haley in this class. I really like the way that Christy has this set up on the far left-hand side with the sidebar format. And as Kaylee will note, as she completes all of her assignments, it's just so easy to go through all of these and click on them if that's your choice. And there's the puppy. And hopefully he's still okay a couple of years later. Now that was 2 years ago. Now let's go back 3 years. This is what the website for Mary Alice Cole looked like at the time. Very similar to Trey in 2021. And I already have it clicked on the project from Mary Alice. 6 things that are happening in pop culture that everyone needs to know. So similar to Christy Glass in 2019, what Mary Alice did the year before, she's just looking at a variety of different items. And if you want to do it this way, that's fine. I have no problem with that at all. And then there's a link to the original article that she was using. Now that is opening in this window for Hip Hop Beefs and a Breaking Bad movie. Dateline November 7, 2018. And she used the Nicki Minaj photo with the apparent Cardi B feud as part of the story. And that's what it looks like when you go back to the top. And when you click on the website for Mary Alice with the final project on top, and then assignment 20 wildcard paper, 19 classmate blog critique, 18 news app critique. This looks outstanding on the phone. Of course, the challenge is, before we get to the final 2017 project for entertainment or pop culture, sometimes when we go back a few years, the visuals that were provided on rare occasions are no longer there. This is Jamia Evans from 4 years ago. Her trending on social media was a different number. I renumbered the assignments. So this is actually trending on social media 14, and let's move up to 15, entertainment or pop culture. And here is a story battle emerges when a DJ producer was accused of drugging and raping 2 females in 2013. There's a link. There's another link. And here is a graphic that is provided with the story. The last sentence, quote, "The lawsuit may be a chance for the individual to revive his reputation, but this type of exposure could kill his career. And that's what she was doing for Trending on Social Media, what all of you have completed or are working on. Notice all of the screenshots that she put in there related to the Portia de Rossi Steven Seagal story from that particular blog. And you'll notice that that link to her IMDb profile actually opens within Jamia's website. One more bit of interactivity before we conclude today. Let's go back to Google Drive and remind you of a couple of upcoming dates for next week. When you are looking at different projects, and I'll leave it here for the time being. Assignment 15, Entertainment or Popular Culture, will be due at class time on Tuesday of next week. At the end of class on Tuesday, I will be doing some preliminary research on opinion of a local issue. Now think about your hometown, think about SAU or Magnolia, but really it's something where with local or state, national or international issue, which will be due Tuesday of the week following, I just want you to take off your impartial reporter's hat and start thinking about something that is of importance to you. It can be civic, it can be governmental, it can be something personal, but something that is of importance to you. And as we do with all of our class sessions, we'll go into the archives with cohorts from previous years and see what they were examining. So assignment 15, Tuesday of next week, assignment 16 on Thursday of next week. So as we conclude the class for this week, we're coming along nicely. I think the most important thing to understand, as I mentioned at the outset, is that starting next week until Tuesday of Thanksgiving break, and we will have class Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, we've got 5 class periods, 2 full weeks, and then the Tuesday just before Thanksgiving. So the end of the semester is moving along in the rearview mirror very quickly. So we want to make certain that for all of the projects that you have them exactly the way you want, starting with the stylistic approach with the website. Remember, we were looking at that updated media form grade sheet. Use the content and the visuals as informal checklist data for the time being. We'll make it more formal after we return back to a more standard form of mask-free, face-to-face instruction. But for the time being, if you haven't done assignment 15, entertainment or popular culture, go ahead and have that ready by Tuesday of next week. After we return from Thanksgiving break, during those 2 class periods, we'll go into deeper analysis about the final project, which is visual journalism. So 200 points for the entire blog is one entity. Grades still to be decided because we're at 14 or 15, we're not at 20. 50 points for the final visual journalism project, and then 50 points for going online, watching the videos, which I can check in the Grade Center on Blackboard. All of that matters to a great degree. So let's make sure that we continue to get caught up. We continue to enhance your writing, your editing style, your creativity, as was shown today on the blogs. Good luck with all of that work coming up for next week. As for MM 2003, reporting and writing for the mass media, that concludes the recording session for today.